Okay, this is the first official podcast. Do you like my "Felt Like an Eagle" Steve Miller Band shirt? It's one of my favorite shirts, to be honest with you. I have like two shirts or three shirts that I like really like to wear, and this one and my Dolly Parton shirt is really good. You have to forgive me. I'm having like a little snack here, and you can tell I'm I'm locked in because I'm drinking black coffee with honey in my world mug and oatmeal with a scoop of protein powder in it and like peanut butter and like almonds. It's actually not bad at all. I just you know you gotta do what you gotta do. How aggressive are these chews? Like, can you hear them? Super. Can you hear them too bad? I don't want to get too close. Anyway, I didn't have like a discrete plan what to talk about today. I'm kind of using these in my podcast as like a progress report, like talking about what I'm doing, where I'm at, how I'm getting there, perspectives and stuff like that. I don't think anyone really wants to hear that probably. At least not right now, because no one knows me. But I'm not really doing that for this. Doing this for that. I'm doing it because um, I'm just committing to like the long form content and trying to consistently put exposure of me in on my platform. Because that's really the only thing that helps you get to um, a good spot in content is just you gotta basically be putting yourself out there. You gotta be seen a lot. You need a lot of exposure because you could be the best, like you could be like the Kai Cenat or the Duke Dennis or you know the ISO Speed, the whoever you want to be, whether it's streaming or just YouTube or whatever. But really, what the thing that's gonna pull people in is either if one you have like a really cool niche sort of appeal that is rare and striking, and people will jump on that because they're like, oh, it's so rare to see this, whatever this is. I want to see this more often. But if you're just like kind of like anyone else, you just need to be in their face more often. They need to just see you more and see you with other people that they see. You kind of just need to work yourself into that space because you're not gonna just. You might gain. Some people might follow, but people like me, like I watch the content that I want to watch. So unless you're in those spaces, I'm not gonna cross over with you. I could even be watching you adjacently, like you're consistently in content of people that I watch, and I still won't go and follow, subscribe, whatever. Just because I'm like, well, I don't want to necessarily watch them. I'm getting just the right amount of dosage right now, you know, and that can change, and that's not everybody's style, but it's just kind of how it works, And maybe even if you're someone I would want to see, maybe after the fourth, fifth, the 10th time of seeing you consistently in my For You page, in my mentions, in my recommendations, whatever it may be, then I'll go, well, let me just see what's going on over here. Then I'm like, you know what? I love this guy's content. And then that's when I'll start being like, all right, well, let's support, you know? But not before, you know? Anyway, today I just started a new schedule that I insurrected. And really wake up at 5, between 5 and 5:30. Pray, read the Bible, because I'm spiritual. go do early morning cardio. I do it early for two reasons, for like three. One, I don't really like cardio focused workouts. I like to be heavy lifting, you know. But if you don't want to combine the two, and a lot of people make that mistake of they'll do like hard cardio and heavy lifting in the same workout. You don't want to do that. You do light cardio, walking, maybe on the bicycle, but not going crazy. Maybe I don't know, like super light. You don't want to go crazy. Stairmaster one, that's okay, because you don't want your anabolic. You don't want your heart rate to go too high. Aerobic exercises are more for like a consistently high enough heart rate that you're burning fat that way, which releases different sorts of acids in your body and your muscles. And that kind of acids and the things that release in your body during an aerobic exercise like running or like heavy cardio are antithetical, or rather they just don't, in layman's terms, they don't really help the same sort of acids and buildup that happen from lifting and trying to put on muscle mass. They sort of contradict each other. So it's better to have like at least 6 hours in between. If you're gonna be doing a harder cardio and heavy lifting, you want to have that space, or else you're kind of gonna be counteracting. Also, if you don't have a ton of muscle mass, or rather muscle density, you don't want to be doing a ton of cardio, because you're just going to be burning through a lot of what it takes to sort of build up that muscle mass anyway. You end up burning the fat with the muscle. Now, unless you're like, have a lot of mass on you, like say you have a lot of extra fat on you, you're going to have to burn through that first. And so at that point, doing heavy lifting is great, because you're going to be helping your muscles and your joints and things of that nature. But you're better off having like lighter aerobic exercises, like doing walking. Getting in the water is really good on your joints depending on how big you are. And of course, it's a mixture of all these things, but just at the right times. And obviously, keeping your health and your diet really on point is the secret sauce right there. It's really made in the kitchen. Like people be like, I want abs, and then they'll start doing crunches, and they'll do like a million crunches, and I'm like, you can do crunches till you're blue in the face, and you will have sore abs, sure, but unless you really want them to pop, for one, unless you're a bodybuilder, abs are kind of, working them out is cool for your core workouts are good, but you can get that with deadlifts, with squats, with compound exercises, meaning exercises that work more than one part of the body, and then just like focusing heavy on like your abs, because you're probably not gonna get them super thick unless you're like a bodybuilder putting in a whole workout on it. Like when I wanted a stronger core because my core was weak, and I wanted my abs to be a bit more popping out. When I know leaning down will reveal them, they'll be even more, just a little bit extra, So, the one exercise I really only did one exercise for that. Sort of two. I worked my obliques, doing one hand farm carry. So you carry like a dumbbell, or like a kettlebell in one arm, and you keep your shoulder level with the other shoulder, and try to walk straight. They're called suitcase carries, and you do that, back and forth, and that strengthens the obliques. I also would be in a push-up stance, and I would have a kettlebell below me, and I'd pull with each arm. I'd pull from the opposite side across like the chest meets the stomach area, and that helps the obliques in some aspects. But mainly for my abs, I would just do like weighted ab cable crunches. That's cable crunches. That's really all it is. You're on all fours, as if you're like ducking your head. You're on, and then you have the rope that you would use for like tricep extension, and you have that above your head, and so you take it from the bottom like this. So if it's like so it's like it's triangulated, right? So it's like you have the two ropes. You go from underhand, right? So now you're holding it like this, and you hold. I would hold it usually. I would hold it at my ears, and you're on your like so you're on your all fours. So you want to have it kind of elevated so that it creates tension before you get to the crunch, and then you just crunch in from pull in front with like the elbows and the head, sort of like a lever, so that you want to feel the contraction and the tightening of the abs, and then you expand all the way out from the back, and then you pull in. You don't want to try to keep your back straight and 90-degree. If you don't want to go too far in and too far out, or you start taking tension off, and maybe you're working like the hip flexors or something like that. You want the abs to be fully immersed. And so I would put the cable on like 95 to 100, and I would do like 100 reps. So I would do 4 sets of like 25 or 5 sets of 20. And after that, oh my God, they hurt, man. Like none other. But putting thick slabs of beef on my abs, sort of. And my current goal right now is to get to like 8% body fat, like I was pre-pandemic. And when I started my journey, realistically, I say I started my journey like in the end of 2024. I think it's the end of 2024. No, because it's 2025. It wasn't last December. It was December prior. So it was December 2023. We went on this cruise, and I was at my fattest possible. I was like 247, 25%, maybe even higher, 26, 27% body fat. Unbelievable. I was a burger. And I was like, whatever, you know? Who cares? But I just felt so low. And then there was so many other aspects of my life that was happening that just exacerbated that feeling. Just like feeling like depressed and not happy with yourself. And I was just like, you know what? This is not going to fly, bro. And I went to the gym. I had been delaying the gym because I've been working so much that I was like, I just can't. But I went to the gym on the cruise, and I tried to do something a weight that I've been familiar with, which was like 90 pounds on the bench, like flat bench. And I couldn't do it without practically tearing my rotator cuff. Like, it was embarrassing. I tried like twice, and I was like, wow. And I was like, that's it. From now, I'm gonna commit. So after we left the cruise, for the next 4 months, I was going to the gym and going to work and coming home, and that was it. And going to my meetings, you know. And leading up to that whole summer, I got down to like last summer. I went from 247 to 214. And I was way leaner. I was way happier. But then I was like, you know what? I want to still put on some more muscle mass because I had really worked hard, but I want to be even stronger. So after the summer was kind of ending, I started putting on more muscle again. I mean, putting on more fat, but muscle, but like controlled. And in the genetics I have, people are going to be like, oh, you're not natty. I have a specific kind of genetics that help putting on muscle mass really easy. Putting on fat's easy too. You know, and people are like, oh, you're mesomorph. I'm like, no, it's an extra layer on that because I have my DNA tested. And I can put on, so a lot of times if you're a bodybuilder or someone who just works out a lot, the most amount of muscle mass you can put on usually, not most, but what you're aiming for is maybe 25 pounds of lean muscle mass in the entirety of your working out career, unless you have genetics that allow you to be a competitor, and then you're probably putting on more. But that's because you have your genetics allow that. Otherwise, you're not really good at exceeding that. When I was in high school, I put on 25 pounds of muscle in a year. And then I did it again because I was 190 back in 2019, pre-pandemic. 190 at about coasting between like 10% body fat, and then, but I couldn't. I was at a plateau. I couldn't get bigger because I wasn't eating enough because I was trying to stay lean, but also keep on muscle mass. I wasn't really pushing it. It was difficult, and I had let lower energy because I was intermittent fasting, which I don't do really anymore. I don't eat crazy, but I don't like intermittent fast like I used to. And because I realized I thought intermittent fasting was for me because I'm like, yeah, I can work out without it, but I realized if I'm trying to put on more muscle mass, like I have been, I cannot. I don't have the energy if I don't eat. I'm literally like almost passing out. You need the energy, which comes from the carbohydrates. But also, your brain making complex tasks needs energy, like from the glucose, from I'm trying to think I can block this. From the glucose, from all kinds of stuff, you know. So you got to be supplicating your body. And I just wasn't, you know. And even though I was staying lean, I wasn't putting on mass either. And so it was kind of like futile what I was doing in the gym. So I had to like reevaluate that whole thing. And then after the pandemic came, I just like forget it. We can't go anywhere. I'm trying to work out at home, but it's not the same. And so I said, forget it. I'm just gonna keep eating. Gained so much weight, 50 pounds, dude, from 190 to 250 was probably the highest, so like 60 pounds of fat. And I was like, you know. And so, anyway, fast forward to last year, got lean. Was like, yeah, this is cool, but I want more muscle mass again. So I started putting back on weight. And since between that 2024 around August to now, I put on even more lean muscle mass. So I'm like last year at 240. Well, let's say let's go the way I am now. Right now I'm 232, 235. I coast between you go up and down like 3 pounds within a week. So let's say 235. But I'm 235 at like 15%, 15.5% body fat. Whereas last year, 235 would have been 24, like 23, 22% body fat. So there's a 7% difference, which means that I put on so much more lean mass than I have anything else. And my goal way back in 2019, was to get to cross 200. I was like, I want to get up to 200, maybe 210 at the most. I thought I could never get past that. I was like, at the most 210 with single digit body fat. This time around, I achieved my goal. Since 2020, which is 5 years ago, I've, even though it's been up and down, the last year and a half has really been hard. And last year, really, I've been just like locked in, dude. And just putting on muscle mass, keeping some of the fat because I want to keep the muscle mass. And then I've been cutting aggressively since like February. And it's June. Like January, February. And I started slowing down even more before that, but I started like committing to the cut around February, and it's June the 9th. And so far it's been, trying to lose safely 2 to 3% each month without losing too much. So I started off around 22%, and in these last 4 months, I'm been able to cut that 7%. So it's still going pretty well. By the end of this month, I'll be at maybe 13%, which is really close because I've been doing both cardio in the mornings and heavy lifting at night with the dieting, of course. And by August, which is my goal date, by really end of July, I want to be at like single digits, like 9%. And then August, I'll hit the goal, But I think people are like, well, I'm not motivated enough to do that. I'm like, that's fair, but you can find things that will motivate you if that's what you want. It's one thing to want something or to not want something and then trying to find yourself motivation to want it, which is like, why would you do that unless it's something that's really like trying to want something that's good for you. But if you want it and you have trouble finding motivation, that's often a mixture of things. If anything, for one, it could be your internalized system going on. I'm allergic to gluten. I have an intolerance. For 6 years I went without it, and then I had like just sort of a tough year, And I was like, and I just ate some, and I felt fine. So I was like, well, considering I'm not having a reaction, maybe my gut health has changed, blah blah blah. So then I went like 3 years eating it. Then I had a really bad reaction later on, actually not too long ago, and I go, you know what? I gotta stop. No more gluten, no more whatever. And changing my gut health changed everything, bro. Like mentally, emotionally, physically, you feel 10 times better because your gut health is linked to so much tethered to your emotional spectrum, your energy, like the digestion and all that stuff controls so many aspects of just who you show up as and your mental health. So clearing that out could be the secret to you just being way better. It's been so much easier. Like I have I'm on the spectrum, OCD heavily. Anxiety and ADHD and all these things overlap, right? So it's heavily neurodivergent. So something called executive function, which is essentially your brain completing tasks, switching between tasks. You know, that's a big one. If you have executive dysfunction, then sometimes switching between tasks can be way harder than the task itself. You will stagnate, you will procrastinate, and you'll think, oh, I'm just lazy, I'm just this, I'm just sad, I'm just whatever. And it could literally be just because you have this imbalance, rather, And that could be linked to things that you wouldn't have guessed. Like you think, oh, maybe I'm just like this. In reality, it's just like, hey, it's what you're eating. Like eating healthier, avoiding fast food because they put so much crap in it, and then avoiding extra sugars. And then if you have an allergic or an allergy, oh my God, even more so. So avoiding those things, clearing out your gut health. I'm gonna start drinking this mushroom coffee I wanted to find because it really helps clear out anything, and to sort of repair your gut and like you're just a small intestine, and that helps you with burning fat, with feeling better, with everything. And just taking care of your body, really taking care of your body makes it so much easier. Because what if we're all in a race for life, right? And we're all trying to get to a location. It's a marathon, right? It's not a sprint. So if you're in a car and you're trying to get to a long destination across the town, across a country, like you're driving from the east to the west of the U.S., you're going to need to take care of your car. You got oil changes, inspecting, issues with, the axles, having the tires, aligned, having everything in place. Of course, putting fuel in it, but the right kind of fuel. Like really taking care of your vehicle inside and out. And that is how you're gonna get there. Otherwise, you're gonna break down before or have other issues. So you gotta work smarter, not harder. Harder. Well, personally, I say work smarter and harder. Work smarter so that you're not doing unnecessary things and that you're making it easier on yourself. But then work hard because things that are worthwhile are not easy. And the mental aspect of it is really all of it. If you tell yourself when you're doing something that's really difficult, like, hey, I really want this, and I don't want to be the kind of person who just quits, because I think the kind of person I will be when if I overcome this and achieve the thing I really want, will be better, and and the thing is, it's a compounding effort because all things compound if they're linked in the same sort of trajectory. So the better you get at doing harder things, that you open up a whole new world to your life of things that maybe you want to do that would be hard or it would dissuade someone else from doing it, that you now feel inspired. And it's like working out. Again, the muscle that you work out to do hard things gets stronger. So harder things become easier to do. And some things are going to stay hard. But that doesn't mean that you can't do them. It just means that now you have the mental muscle of like, hey, this is what hard feels like. And that's whenever I'm doing something that's really difficult, like business is really difficult. Working out can be difficult. It pushes you to always to your limit. You stay at your limit, Eating healthy and avoiding junk and stuff you want can be difficult. It is difficult usually unless you get in the rhythm of it. And, avoiding things in the world that are bad for you is difficult. But if you continue to put the pressure on yourself to overcome, to reach that new height, they become way easier to do. And then you become mental tougher, and that builds your confidence because you go, you know what, I believe in myself. And I've been doing that since I was a teen, like really young, and even maybe before that, because some people's personalities are more wired that way. And that's simply nothing that I can do. That's no help of my own. So I just count it as a blessing, and I'm thankful for it. But that doesn't make the thing less hard. But at least I can now maybe inspire other people by the results of what you're doing, because people are watching you, and they're not always watching because they want you to succeed or they want to see you succeed, but they're watching you to compare. They're watching you to say, can this person do the thing? Because maybe they want to do it. And I used to make me upset because I used to feel like, well, people are just like, they're not supporting you, they're just like observing. But I don't really have any expectations now. Whether you support me or you don't, or, you know, a friend or not, doesn't make a difference to me anymore. I really used to care about that, and I worked through the mental aspect of why, and I thought through that, and now it just doesn't bother me as much. And I feel like, if anything, I offer compassion. So I'm like, maybe, you know, your life's not perfect, you're working through things, you know, hey, if something went wrong along the way, I hope that I can be a force for good in your situation, or inspire, or anything I can do. And if you think I'm corny or cringy or whatever, that's fine too. I feel like people's opinions don't have to hold as much weight as you give it, because they don't really have all the answers either. They're just kind of figuring things out. And instead of being embittered by it, which only really affects you, because most people don't even know you're embittered by how they feel, you can just treat with compassion. Go, hey man, I hope everything goes well in your life, but this matters to me. I enjoy this. I'm gonna keep doing it. And as long as you're being, you know, someone who has love, and you're conscientious, and you're being agreeable and open in those ways, and you're able to keep the good and get rid of the bad, I think you're golden. You know, like I said, I follow the Bible, so I listen to the principles of like, here's how to be the best person you can possibly be, without deterring and taking away from others. Because I used to be like, well, it's hard to find the line where you're like, am I being a good person but also stumbling other people? Can those two exist? Maybe you can be genuine, like you have your intentions are genuine, but that doesn't mean, if you're not being careful, you can still stumble other people in your life. And it's not saying you have to be on eggshells, like I was putting myself on, but it does mean that you're not deviating from your values. You have well instilled values that come from the right source, and you are consistently checking to make sure you're not coming outside the lines of those. And you know, the scripture says that, you know, not all things are lawful. Like, maybe there's still a law against me doing a certain thing or liking a certain whatever, but not all things are advantageous. Meaning, just doesn't necessarily mean it's going to build up. Is what I'm going to do detract, or potentially be controversial or contentious or egotistical? Am I considering others less important than my feelings because I have ego, or because I think that I'm more important? And it's that attitude really is being permeated heavily, of like, oh, I think how I feel and what I think matters more. And so, like, because I'm me, right? Because I'm looking through my eyes. But if everyone's thinking that, then no one's looking out for the other person. It's a self-defeating cycle. The same person who offended you and made you think, oh, I got to take care of me, was doing the same thing. That's how you got kind of, you know, screwed over. So I don't want to be the one to permeate that. You can screw me over if you want. I'm opening myself up to vulnerability, to say I feel strong enough and capable enough that even if you try to step on me or take advantage of me, I don't. That's not going to detract me or to take away from what I'm doing and building and trying to be and who I'm going to become, because that's the strength you have to build up. But if you're so busy hiding who you are and protecting it, and you're afraid of being vulnerable or seen or whatever, then you're only going to, when you inevitably are vulnerable, which happens at some point, if you want to be a social person, if you want to have love, if you want to have friends, if you want to grow, you have to open that up. Then you're just going to have a very unhealed person, like unhealed, internalized world. Your mental scaffolding is going to be so wobbly, it'll be easy to push you over. So you just have to fortify that, really. And so I'm just a lot more confident and secure in who I am. And that doesn't mean that you're, like, nothing can hurt you. Of course things can, but you can always bounce back. You got to believe in that. So I believe in that. And I work every day. I'm so introspective. I spend hours, all the time, constantly making sure that I'm running the right sort of mental loops and the right sort of emotional weighting. And you know what? And I think in another episode, I'll talk about how that works neurologically, like how that works in the science of the brain and how we make decisions off that. But this is 30 minutes long. I didn't want it to make it too long. I've been talking so much that I haven't really been finishing my coffee or my oatmeal, so I'm gonna cut it here. But this is episode 1 of Jackson's journal. And to all one of you who are probably watching, thanks for watching if you made it this far. And yeah, take care and God bless.